Alright, so let's look at a real-world example of how to actually graph an equation. So Costco charges $55 for their yearly membership. Let's suppose that members who use Costco stores save on average about 27.5% on their purchases. The cost of purchasing products with or without Costco membership can be represented by two equations which can be graphed. The purpose of creating such a graph would be to visualize at what point the cost of membership would be paid for by the savings experienced through the purchases. So if you spend $100 each time you go to the store, how many trips would you have to take to Costco before the savings paid for the membership? Can you describe two equations that would represent the cost of the products with and without the Costco membership? Alright, so what if I told you that y would represent the cost and x would represent the number of trips? Let me try to describe the equation. Let's start with the average trip cost of $100. Without a membership, y equals the cost per trip times the number of trips. So if we put in a table where x equals 0 through 4, what we can see is that y equals the amount per trip, $100, times the number of trips, x. So if you go 0 times, you spend $0. So 0 trips, $0. 1 trip, $100. 2 trips, $200, and so on. Now the equation for the membership is going to start with the cost of the membership. So that's $55 plus the cost per trip, which again, if you go one time, is $100 times the number of trips, right? So then that number needs to be subtracted from the cost per trip times the number of trips times the savings per trip. And that equation looks like this. So y equals the cost of membership plus the cost per trip times the number of trips minus the cost per trip times the number of trips times the savings per trip. So let's start with 0. So maybe you can get an understanding of what I'm talking about here. Oops. Back a second. So if you go 0 times, y equals 55 plus 100 times 0 is 0, minus 100 times 0 is 0, times 0.275. So we still end up with 5 equals, y equals 55 minus 0. So even if you go 0 times, you still spend $55. You see that? If we go 1 time, y equals 55 plus 1 time. So 1 times 100 is 100, minus 1 times 100 is 100, times 0.275. So 55 plus 100 is 155. 100 times 0.275 is 27.5. So 155 minus 27.5 is 127.5. So the number of trips is 1, and the total amount you've spent so far is 127.5. So you spent $55 on the membership, but you also saved $27.5 on this one trip. So now we're going to do it with 2 times. If we go to the store 2 times, we have $55 for the cost of the membership, plus the 2 times that we went to the store, that's $200, minus the $200 times 0.275. So y equals $255 minus $55. So you spent $55 for the membership, you went 2 times, that's $255, but you've also saved $55 because you went 2 times. So here we see that the x value is 2 and the y value is 200. Then we do our values for 3 and for 4, and you can see we end up with 5 ordered pairs where x is 0 through 4 and y represents the cost per trip. Okay, so if you spend $100 each time you go to the store, how many trips would you have to take to Costco before the savings paid for the membership? Let's graph it. You can see that without the membership, each trip to the store will cost you $100. With the membership, each trip to the store will save you $27.50. The graph shows that 2 trips to the store will cost you $200 with or without the membership. This is the intersect point. Each additional trip to the store to Costco will save you $27.50.